Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the lecture number 3 of modern Indian history. So in the previous two lecture I have covered the first battle of Panipat, second battle of Panipat, and I have given the context of total modern Indian history, through which I will cover how I will cover all the topics, and also provided you the chronological order of the Mughal Empire, and as well as Mansabdari system, Jagirdari system, land revenue system, and Izaradari system. This all four topic has been covered in uttermost detail. So if you have not watched it till now, you will go and watch it, and also I will provide the link of those lectures in video also, so you can watch there all from there also. And now those people who are new in my channel, I request you to subscribe my channel, like my video, because this will be helpful in your UPSC preparation. So without making any delay, we will start the lecture number 3. So the topic of this lecture is a decline of Mughal. Decline of Mughal. अगर आपको स्पीड स्लो लग रहा है तो अकॉर्डिंगली यू कैन स्विच टू 1.5x, और समटाइम व्हेन आई एम giving notes to you, you can switch to even 2x also, so that you can save your time. So decline of Mughal I will teach you in the 3 section. So first is till 1707, that means till the Aurangzeb rule from 58 to 1707, 1658 to 1707. Then how the Aurangzeb, in the first section we will see the how Aurangzeb's activity and how the Aurangzeb's policies will sow the seed of the decline of the Mughal. Means Aurangzeb ने ऐसा उसका policies ऐसा क्या था, because Aurangzeb was involved in the continuous warfare. He had different divisive policies with respect to the alienated group of Hindus or the other Indian groups. So वो कैसे one of the reason बना decline of Mughals का. Then in the second phase we have seen that we will see the 1707 to 1740. 1740 around Nadir Shah invasion, we will see in detail that, and rest till 1857, when officially 1857 we remember as an officially it is considered that Mughal rule ended by Britishers officially. ठीक है? But if you see and on the ground level, it is 1740 in which the Mughal rule already ended. Mughal rule already नहीं बोलिए, almost you can write almost ended. Or at the time of 1740, the greatest power of India that time was Marathas. ठीक है? So हम देखेंगे कि कैसे है, because I have told you in the second lecture only in 1752 Mughals came under the military protection of Maratha. So everything you will clear, because इस lecture में मैं chronologically order सब देने वाला हूँ कि आपको exactly clear हो जाए कैसे history पूरा work किया है. ठीक है? सो अब स्टार्ट हो जाते, फर्स्ट देखते हैं फर्स्ट सेक्शन कि टिल 1707 औरंगजेब का पॉलिसीज के कारण हाउ it impacted or how it sown the seed of declination of the Mughal. Okay, so simply we can see that the different dimension of declination of the Mughal. So dimension can be, first dimension can be political dimension, political decline. Second can be economic decline. So these dimensions are interrelated also, you cannot consider to be an independent. Then third you can consider as a people oriented, means how much trust the people have among their emperor, and how much the emperor influence the people, and how much loyalty they are having. So that you can consider in a people dimension. First let us come in the political one. What happened, what Aurangzeb did? Aurangzeb in his tenure around 5807, I have already told the chronological order or the nomenclature why I have written AZ 5807. It means Aurangzeb ruled over 1658 to 1707. This is the nomenclature, so that helps you to remember the years as well as the emperor name. Clear hai? So in Aurangzeb what did? Aurangzeb did continuous 40 years of warfare. So if someone who is involved in 40 years of warfare, what this lead? First, this lead the military power in decreases, military strength decreases in numbers. Okay. Second, it also weaken economically. So I can write here in economic one. Economic weakness also, because many of the resources drainage होगा. जितना resources होगा, that also resources also gone down. Okay. And now the second thing is that due to the military strength weakening, and you know the responsibility of managing of military is on Jagirdar are responsible for military maintenance, the maintenance of the army. So the military strength weakness directly impact the Jagirdars. So what this lead? Jagirdar, because Jagirdar के पास अब कोई option नहीं बचा, so that's why it leads to the military corruption. Military corruption. बिकॉज इन वन हैंड वॉर पे वॉर हो रहा था, एंड फ्रॉम देयर इकोनॉमिक वीकनेस हो गया, तो जागीरदार फाइंड वेरी हार्ड टू मेंटेन द मिलिट्री एज पर द सवार, एंड ऑल्सो दे हैड नॉट इनफ मनी फॉर देमसेल्फ फॉर देयर एक्सपेंडिचर. दैट्स वाई दे इनिशिएटेड, दे स्टार्टेड द मिलिट्री करप्शन. इन द लेमन टर्म, और मिलिट्री करप्शन इज नथिंग बट अ नॉट मेंटेनिंग आर्मी as per Sawar. This is some called military corruption. ठीक है, it is clear. So हम लोगों ने political में we have seen that how the 40 years of warfare leads to the military corruption. And second thing is the political instability. Political instability due to the factionalism. इसको मैं समझाऊंगा अभी. I will, ये बहुत डिटेल में इसको मैं समझाने वाला हूँ, तो just wait for a minute or two. ठीक है. So political instability lead to the factionalism, and third is that institutional failure. Institutional failure. So this is the political decline. 3 point we have seen. Due to the war, military corruption happened, and also political instability that leads to the factionalism, and third is a institutional failure. Factionalism in a layman term, you can see it's a grouping inside the Mughal court. So you can consider as a grouping inside the Mughal court. Now in economic, so one more thing you can add here is in the political only, add Nadir Shah invasion. In somewhere here you can add Nadir Shah invasion. ठीक है, Nadir Shah invaded and weakened the Mughal empire politically, but Nadir Shah invasion is after Aurangzeb, so this you must consider. And in economic, first I have told you that due to the 40 year of warfare, the economic resources drained out. And second thing is the Nadir Shah crisis, also you can write here. Nadir Shah actually came here and looted completely, so that also leads. And also third is the Jagirdari crisis. Jagirdari crisis. So Jagirdari crisis, in a simpler term, you can see that there are not a much Jagir available, that is land available to give to the Mansabdar. So this is a Jagirdari crisis. In layman term, I said, I will explain this also in detail. So this video is about detailing of two things. First is I will detail about the factionalism, and I will teach about the Jagirdar crisis in a uttermost detail, and also I will provide you the notes. And people, I have already talked about people loyalty gone down, because now people loyalty gone down because of the policies created by Aurangzeb. We will discuss the policies also. So let us first discuss the policies. Come start first policy, and then we'll discuss factionalism, and then Jagirdari crisis, and all are interconnected. So in policies, we can see that Aurangzeb's policies are like, first policy is the jizya tax. ठीक है, jizya tax on, it was introduced, jizya tax was introduced on, I think spelling is mistake, it is jizya, yes, it is on non-Muslim, or it is an additional tax. Okay, so this tax on the regional basis. And second, what the Aurangzeb policy did is not repairing temples, and also in addition to not repairing temples, it also reduces the allocation of land to temples. ठीक है, allocation of land to temples. So you can see how the different policy accumulate the anger on the people, and that leads to the disloyalty among the king. So the second is not repairing, and third most is that reduce. Third is that he also demolished some of the important temples. Demolished some important Hindu temples. Nowadays only because if you demolish the Hindu temple, this is very important points, because nowadays now politics also, if you suppress the people economically, so they anyway they will manage कि चलो सही है, if the petrol prices goes up or it will burden with the job losses or anything, still the anger is not that level. But if someone religiously or sentimentally hurt someone, so that will create a more anger into the people. So you can relate, you can resemble this situation also currently that is also going on. I will not go deep into it, I just hinted you where what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is demolition and other policies. These are the policies and some decisions that Aurangzeb took also created the rage among the people. Two decision which was very first is execution of ninth Guru ninth Guru Tegh Bahadur, who was the Sikh Guru who executed around 1675. Okay, and second Sambhaji Maharaj. Sambhaji, who was the elder son of Shivaji. Elder son of Shivaji 7480. 7480 here means 1674 to 1680. ठीक है, and 1674 one you can write like कि in 1674 Shivaji coronated with Chhatrapati. That's why we call Chhatrapati Shivaji. Clear है? So why they both executed, the only reason of execution of the Guru Tegh Bahadur and Sambhaji, and one is because they declined to get converted into Muslim, converted to Islam. So this was the reason why they both got executed. And second thing that most important is here, Sambhaji was not directly executed. He got executed after 3 weeks of torturing. You can understand that 3 weeks of torturing you got executed. So because normal, the war is very common. War is very common. If someone got defeated in war or someone got captured, so it is better if you really want to give him death, to give him peaceful death, because he's also an warrior. But after torturing, if you will let them die or if you will execute, this is something on the very negative side. So this also created more rage and anger among the people. So you can, so these policies, so you can slowly see that, आप देखते जाइए कि कैसे वन बाय वन, बिकॉज कभी भी कोई रिवोल्ट होता है, सो दिस इज नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ द वन इंसिडेंट. आप देखेंगे कि 100 साल 200 साल से थोड़ा थोड़ा एंगर डेवलप होते जाता है, एंड आफ्टर दैट वंस इज रीचेज द पीक, वंस इज क्रॉस्ड और द थ्रेशोल्ड, देन इट विल लीड्स टू द रिवोल्ट. ठीक है, सो इस कारण से भी रिवोल्ट हुआ था, वी विल सी इन लेटर. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी हैव कंप्लीटेड दिस थिंग, how the policies of the Aurangzeb leads the rage and anger into the people, and this create the disloyalty. Now second thing we will see here is a factionalism, how factionalism started, and this is about after Aurangzeb. Now the second is after Aurangzeb, after 1707, more precisely we see. So what happened in 1707, or more precisely if you see 1705 onwards, Mughal started winning or recapturing of the territory, winning and recapturing of territory acquired by Aurangzeb 5807. And one important thing that you note it down, that औरंगजेब के टाइम में, when औरंगजेब के टाइम में जो मुगल का जो टेरिटोरियल एक्सपेंशन था वो सबसे पीक पे था, पीक एट टेरिटोरियल एक्सपेंशन ऑफ द मुगल. एक्सपेंशन ऑफ मुगल। ठीक है, ये आप याद रखिएगा। सो 1705 onwards से मुगल started winning and recapturing the territory acquired by Aurangzeb, and also by, second point you can write like, by end of by half of, you can write by half of 18th century, the position before Aurangzeb has restored. दैट मीन्स जितना भी टेरिटोरी कैप्चर किया गया था औरंगजेब के द्वारा, दैट हैज रिकैप्चर्ड बाय द मराठास. Okay, so whatever the warfare the Aurangzeb did here, whatever I have told you, the 40 years of warfare Aurangzeb did just for the military, just for territorial expansion, that has been reversed by end of 1750s. It has already been reversed. So और ये करने का कुछ फायदा नहीं हुआ. In one hand you have seen that military strength आपने lose कर दिया, that leads to the Jagirdari crisis, military corruption, and anyway within the 50 year that all the gain has been recaptured, all the territory has been recaptured by the Marathas, and Marathas emerges as the greatest power at that point of time. This is very clear. Now come to the factionalism. How factionalism started after that. So after 1707, or after 1707, it has been seen that the Mughal, there were weak Mughal emperor. Okay, so what it leads? Factionalism. So now this weak Mughal emperor started fighting among themselves for the succession dispute, कि अगला राजा कौन बनेगा. So in one hand there was succession dispute among the who is already a king and who is a potential king. सबको राजा बनना था because they were the weak personality. On the second hand, the Mansabdars started also grouping themselves. Mansabdar and their group, they started their grouping themselves, and they started supporting a potential king, so that once their influenced king become the king, so they will get the desired mansab and desired jagirs. तो mansabdar भी grouping करने लगे to get good mansab and jagir. ठीक है, सो दिस इज वन वे. और एक चीज बता देता हूँ, जो मनसबदार थे, देयर आर 5 काइंड्स ऑफ मनसबदार वर प्रेजेंट हेयर. सो ये एक आप एक नोट कर लीजिएगा साइड में. बाय द वे मैं नोट्स भी दूंगा इसका. सो देयर वर 5 ग्रुप. वन इज ईरानी ग्रुप, हु आर बाय डिफॉल्ट, हु आर द सिया एंड हुज origin is Persian origin. You have seen the I have told you in the first lecture, Babur 3040, who took help of the Persian group to in 1555 to recapture power from Suri dynasty leaders. So that's why this Persian group uh, presents in the Mughal court as a Mansabdars. So first is Irani, second is Turani group. Turani group is a Sunni Muslim, same origin of Mughal, same origin as that of the Mughal. Third is the Hindustani group. Hindustani group is a converted Indian Muslims. Converted Indian Muslims. And fourth group is a Deccani group. So Deccani group means when Aurangzeb annexed at the time of 40 year of warfare, Aurangzeb annexed Golconda. So I can write here Golconda in 1687 and Bijapur in 1685. So when he annexed Golconda and Bijapur, the nobles of Golconda and Bijapur has given the position as a Mansabdar in the Mughal court. So those people are considered to be a Deccani group. It is clear, 4 group. And fifth is Hindus. So Hindus was generally Rajputs. So these 5 types of Mansabdar was present in the Mughal court, and now the grouping started happening between them only. So what was the purpose of the grouping? The purpose was the grouping is that कि द लीडर्स, द मुगल एम्पर, इफ इज ऑफ देयर चॉइस, दे विल गेट द डिजायर जागीर एंड देयर डिजायर मनसब। अभी भी वही होता है कि आप चाहते हैं कि जो ऊपर टॉप पे बैठा हो वो हमारा रिश्तेदार हो या हमारा हमारा उससे अच्छा रिलेशन हो, सो दैट आपको जो चाहिए वो मिल सके। दैट्स वाई दिस फ्रैक्शनलिज्म स्टार्टेड। सो यहाँ एक चीज अच्छा था कि अगर ये मनसबदार इन वन साइड, केवल वन साइडेड होता कि दे आर डूइंग फैक्शनलिज्म, सो इफ द किंग इज स्ट्रांग देन दिस फैक्शनलिज्म कैन बी कंट्रोल्ड। But now what happened? The simultaneously succession dispute also going on. The king and potential king both started to favor one or other mansabdars, or so that they will favor when they want to become a king, or those who are a king they will favor to be or to stay in power. तो जो किंग थे वो पावर में रहने के लिए इन मनसब को सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, इस ग्रुपिंग और इस फैक्शनलिज्म को सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, और वो जो पोटेंशियल किंग है जो बनने वाले हैं वो ओवर स्टेपिंग, मतलब उसको हटा के अपने बनने चाहे, इसलिए मनसब को सपोर्ट में रख लेते। और दूसरी बात है कि मनसबदार और ये जो सपोर्टिंग मनसब थे, दे आर ऑल ऑफ द रिच। एक चीज आपको पता होगा, दिस ऑल आर रिच पीपल। Mansabdars are, first is they are rich people, they have the good hold of the military, they had the military with them, or a army or sawar, whatever you can say, they have the military army with them. But what they started doing, instead of focusing on the central politics, because this is what this all happening at the central level, this factionism or succession dispute at the central level. So now this Mansabdar started focusing on the successor state. Successor state, you know that what the successor state was. There were three successor state. One is Awadh, second is Hyderabad, and third is Bengal. So अगर ये मनसबदार चाहते हैं तो they can strengthen the center. Instead of focusing on the central politics, these mansabdar acted selfishly to make this अवध, हैदराबाद और बंगाल रिस्पेक्टिव एज अ सक्सेसर स्टेट। तो वहाँ अगर मनसबदार चाहते तो इवन इफ द वीक मुगल emperor was there, still they collaboratively manage or handle the central politics and make the मुगल एम्पायर इंटैक्ट। बट अब वो लोग क्या कर रहे थे कि अपने सक्सेशन स्टेट पे, बिकॉज आपको पता है कि जो सक्सेशन स्टेट इज द स्टेट और पावर डिलीवरिंग, अगर मुगल स्टेट के बाद किसी को पावर डिलीवर किया जाएगा, दीज आर द सक्सेसर स्टेट। आई हैव टोल्ड यू इन द फर्स्ट लेक्चर, दैट्स व्हाई these mansabdars who are belonging to the different successor state starting focusing on their state, so that after Mughal their state will become, or their state will started leading or become the ruler of India. This will be clear. तो यहाँ भी एक तरह से सेल्फिशनेस आ गया। एंड सेकेंड थिंग मोर कम दैट हाउ इट लीड्स टू द जागीरदार क्राइसिस। ये आप थोड़ा ध्यान से समझिएगा कैसे हुआ था। तो एक चीज समझ में आ गया कि द किंग इज नाउ द पार्ट ऑफ द फैक्शनलिज्म। एक तरफ से मनसादार फैक्शनलिज्म ग्रुपिंग कर रहे थे सो दैट देयर फेवरेट किंग विल, देयर फेवरेट पर्सन will become king and they will get the desired Jagir and Mansab. Second hand, the king and the potential king also favor or also grouping with these Mansabs so that they will get support while the process of becoming the king, so that they will remain as the king or they will become the other king. Means both are now involved. So what is this consequences of it? And it is but obvious that the king or the potential king or potential king is grouping with rich mansabdars. I'm writing M for mansabdar only. So they are started grouping with rich mansabdar and also promising more jagirs to them, to their families, बिकॉज उनके पास तो था, और साथ में टू देम और देयर फैमिलीज दोनों लिख सकते हैं, मतलब उनको भी और उनके फैमिलीज को भी, जो न्यू उनके चिल्ड्रन है उनको भी मोर एंड मोर जागीर दे प्रॉमिस इफ दे विल बिकम द किंग। सो इससे क्या हुआ, और दिस इज फर्स्ट थिंग कि मोर जागीर प्रॉमिस किया गया। सेकेंड थिंग, व्हेन द औरंगजेब अनेक्स्ड गोलकोंडा एंड बीजापुर, तो दो चीज हुआ था। सो एनेक्स करने के बाद जितना भी प्रॉपर्टीज आया था गोलकोंडा एंड बीजापुर, ऑल प्रॉपर्टीज captured were ऑल के जगह आप मोस्ट ऑफ लिख सकते हैं. मोस्ट ऑफ द प्रॉपर्टी कैप्चर्ड वर डेजिग्नेटेड एज खलीसा लैंड. And you know that Khalisa land, where land revenue directly went to the king, and Khalisa land is not distributed to the mansab as a jagir. So one hand क्या हुआ, and third इसके साथ एक चीज हुआ था कि all the nobles of गोलकुंडा and बीजापुर, they got position as a मनसबदार. ठीक है. सो अब मनसबदार का जो काउंटिंग है, जो नंबर, वो इंक्रीज हो गया, एंड जागीर इंक्रीज नहीं हो रहा. तो आप टू टू पॉइंट यू कैन ऑब्जर्व हेयर, that the promising of more and more jagir to the family, and this is the family of the richer mansabdar. And second thing, the nobles also increases. So one hand, so number of mansabdar increases, and in second hand the jagir available to the smaller mansab, यहाँ याद रखिएगा, jagir available with respect to the smaller mansab ये डिक्रीज हो गया. बिकॉज जो बिगर mansab थे, they already had grouped with the potential king, or the person who will going to be the king. So anyway they will get the jagir. But the problem is with the smaller mansabdars, they are now getting the jagir on a periodic basis. ठीक है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल 100 स्मॉलर मनसबदार है. ठीक है. यहाँ एक आपको डेटा से आपको थोड़ा सा अंदाजा लग जाएगा कि एट द टाइम 5% ऑफ द मनसबदार हैड 61% ऑफ जागीर. देखिए कितना, दिस इज द अटर मोस्ट इन इक्वालिटी. यू कैन सी इतना ज़्यादा इनइक्वालिटी था उस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे. और इनइक्वालिटी लीड बाय 2-3 रीजन आप मैंने बताया यहाँ पर. दिस वाज द रीजन, Khalisa land conversion, or the nobles has given some mansabdar and promising of some mansab to the rich and bigger mansabdar. ठीक है. So एग्जाम्पल से देखते हैं कि हाउ पीरियडिकली बेसिस द mansabs are given to the jagirs are given to the smaller mansabdars. Suppose 100 unit of jagirs are available, or there are 500 मनसब्स आर देयर. ठीक है. तो सबसे पहले क्या किया जाता था कि ये 100 यूनिट को कोई 100 मनसब्स को दे दिया जाता था, फॉर सपोज फॉर 1 मंथ. फिर अगले मंथ ये 100 मनसब को हटा के दूसरे कोई 100 मनसब को, मनसब मैं बोल रहा हूँ, थोड़ा सा आप टर्मिनोलॉजी ध्यान दीजिएगा, थोड़ा मुझसे मिस्टेक हो रहा है. तो ये 100 मनसबदार को दिया जाता था दूसरे 100 मनसबदार को. तो यू कैन सी दिस प्रोसेस एज अ पीरियोडिक बेसिस ट्रांसफरिंग, और यू कैन ऑल्सो कॉल दिस एज अ frequent transfer of jagirs to smaller mansabdar. So when the frequent transfer होगा, तो first but obvious thing comes is insecurity about tenure of jagir. So if the mansab started knowing that the jagirs they are holding anyway they will be taken away, so what they do, they try to maximize the land revenue from it. So two way they can maximize. First, they started collecting more and more land revenue, So for collecting more land revenue, they have two options. One option, if they simply go with the traditional way, they will give the responsibility to the jamindar to take the land revenue. So this is not working, because when jamindar goes and take the land revenue, the peasants or the ryots always show the patas. You know that what is patas? Patas was the legal document on the basis of which the ryots or the peasants provided the land revenue to them. So now they what the way out the small jagirdar found, they started and they're dominating the izaradari system. I have told you izaradari system, on which the right of, I can write here, आपका रिवीजन भी होते रहेगा, the right to collect land revenue is given on a bid basis. जो सबसे ज्यादा बिड लगाएगा उसे लैंड रेवेन्यू कलेक्शन मिलेगा. एंड दिस इजारादार्स आर नथिंग बट दे आर द मैन ऑफ मनी, लाइक मनी लेंडर्स हो गए. ठीक है. सो what they were capable of doing, they were extract more revenue because they were own people with them, there were own unethical or unlegal means to extract the more revenue, so that is through izaradari system only there was an option to small jagirdar to collect more revenue. This is the first way corruption happen. And second is the military corruption. I have already told what is military corruption. Means military corruption is that you were not maintaining the as number of military or army or a sawar as number of army as per the sawar. So the money that you got to maintain the sawar you now use as a consumption purpose. This is because of the insecurity. And now this insecurity what leads? This leads to the military corruption, leads to the military weaknesses. Military weakness. This you clear? And one more thing that added that make the condition of smaller mansabdar wars is the larger export of luxury goods to Europe. So if the export to the luxury group to Europe increases, so what will happen? You know the economics, demand and supply. The quantity of luxury good decreases. If quantity decreases and demand high and supply is less, it means that it is nothing but a price increase, and which is nothing but a inflation. So one hand, smaller mansabdar are not getting enough land revenue. So they had their own means of collecting more revenue by introducing the Izaradari system or by adopting the Izaradari system or the military corruption. Other hand, now they are not able to buy the luxury items because mansabdars in the society, even every mansabdar has a good status. They usually have the luxury item with them. If currently due to the economic crisis they do not have the luxury status, they feel so shameless in the society. इट इज़ लाइक अगर कोई कोई इंसान है जो सोसाइटी में एक प्रेस्टीज रखा, जो अमीर है, तो उनका लाइफस्टाइल उस लेवल का हो जाता है और लोग भी उसे उस तरह का ही देखते हैं कि दे आर वेयरिंग अ गुड क्लोथ्स, दे आर गोइंग इन अ कार, नॉट वॉकिंग और समथिंग. तो वो वैसा पहले सिस्टम चलता था, लेकिन अब क्राइसिस की वजह से दे आर नॉट हैविंग इनफ मनी टू मैनेज दोज थिंग. दैट्स वाई दे स्टार्टेड फीलिंग सेमलेस इन द सोसाइटी. सो वो एक हो सकता है. ठीक है. और इसके वजह से जो राइट कलेक्शन था इजारादारी सिस्टम में, वन अदर इंसिडेंट टेक्स प्लेस सिंस these zamindars adopted the izaradari system. So now what happened? This izaradars suppresses the ryots, क्योंकि वो peasant को ही suppress करेंगे for extracting the more land revenue, more than what that was mentioned in the pattas. So suppress peasants or ryots. ठीक है. So when they are suppressed, and as well as first is a suppression and second is due to the less land revenue, initially the jamindar used to provide some investment of the productivity of the jagir. Now they are no investment in productivity of jagir. What this leads to? This leads to the revolt. I have told you that कि जहाँ भी suppression होगा, that time revolt will not happen, but over the period of time you can see revolt will happen. If you will learn the French Revolution 1789, there also the slowly the revolt or slowly the anger was started accumulating, and that leads to the revolt of 1789, that is French Revolution. Okay, so this revolt happen, and the result of this revolt is the emergence of, you can say example is emergence of Jat Kingdom. Jat Kingdom emerges, or creation of Jat Kingdom by Churaman Jat. Okay, so you can see that, or you can conclude that this creation of Jat Kingdom is a result of Jagirdari Crisis. So this statement can act as a conclusion for some questions which is related to this. So you can write like the creation of Jat Kingdom is resultant of Jagirdari crisis that hurts political instability, because this leads political instability. Political instability means देखिए मुगल्स के पास, मुगल have their own kingdom. Mughal were ruling, but still the Jat kingdom was established. It means that Mughal started becoming politically weak. क्योंकि एक राज्य चल, जैसे एक राज्य ऑलरेडी है और उसके अंदर some people collaborated and make their own state. So this is what? This is politically weakness. This is political instability. So now you picture is clearly, और ये जो जितने भी चीजें हुआ, this military weakness, I have told you ना military weakness. So military weakness, this again leads to the factionalism. आप इसको कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं factionalism से. So ये एक टोटल कंप्लीट पिक्चर आपको एक जगह आपको मिल गया. ठीक है. सो एक बार मैं इसको रिकैप कर देता हूँ हुआ क्या था. मैं नोट्स लिखाते जाता हूँ, उसमें रिकैप आपका होते जाएगा. ठीक है. ये मैंने एक आपको ब्रीफ ओवरव्यू दे दिया कि कैसे कैसे प्रोसीडिंग हुआ है, और नोट्स के साथ साथ आपको एक एक डिटेल आपको क्लियर हो जाएगा. चलिए अब हम लोग नोट्स लिखते हैं. और आप भी मैं आपको एडवाइस दूंगा कि यू कैन ऑल्सो मेक नोट्स अकॉर्ड वट एवर आई एम राइटिंग, दैट विल हेल्प यू इन आंसर राइटिंग. सो फर्स्ट वी स्टार्ट विथ रोल ऑफ औरंगजेब in the to show the, okay, thoda, just give me a second. Yes, so first is role of AZ 5807. ठीक है. मैं समझाते समझाते नोट्स भी लिखाऊंगा कि आपका रिवीजन भी हो जाए. ठीक है. फर्स्ट इज कॉन्टिन्यूस वॉरफेयर, एंड आफ्टर रीडिंग दिस नोट्स आपको जो मैंने डायग्राम बना के समझाया था वो ज़्यादा क्लियर हो जाएगा. और ठीक है, अगर आप लोग नहीं समझ पाए, बाय द वे आई हैव ट्राइड my best to explain you in the chronological order, since history had many events. So the main part is to have a good analysis and a good interconnection of all the things. So in books generally it is giving in the vertical manner, but we require to connect the incidents, so that just like I connected with the French Revolution, I connected with the current events, current cabinet, just Mughal court, like our cabinet. जैसे हमारे कैबिनेट में अगर अच्छा पोजीशन नहीं मिला तो चांसेस ऑफ डिफेक्शन इज मोर, दैट्स वाई ग्रुपिंग हैपेंस. Okay, currently also the coalition government is working. That's why those who are in the power, like Narendra Modi, they must have to manage in a way that every unit of the group, every other political party must get what they want, otherwise they will do the defection. So इसलिए a good leader must be there. That's why Akbar ruled over 50 years, Aurangzeb ruled over 50 years. So you can link it that. So continuous warfare. So we can start like, मैं डिक्टेट भी कराता जा रहा हूँ, so that if my writing is not understandable, you can write it by listening. So Mughal Empire reached its territorial peak. आप 2x पे कर लीजिए. Territorial peak. However, seeds of decline were also. So I have an option to provide you the notes directly, but I am not giving, because वैसे क्या होता है कि जब आप अपने हैंड राइटिंग में कुछ चीज़ों को लिखते हैं, that is more better, because आपका वहाँ उस लेवल पे अंडरस्टैंडिंग ज़्यादा बढ़ता है, rather than reading other notes or rather than reading other contents. So you try to write by your own handwriting. So Mughal Empire reached its territorial peak. However, seeds of decline were sown during AZ 5807 reign only, or time or duration. Second point, AZ 5807 engaged in continuous warfare. Engaged in continuous warfare for roughly 40 years. That drained resources for Mughal Empire due to high cost of war. 2 पॉइंट हो गया. The next point, these war also hurt overland trade due to decline of production and law and order. So this is but obvious. Whenever war occur, the first thing that get impacted is a production or the trade, because you can see the Russia Ukraine war happen, you can see the global trade has impacted. That's why the 40 year of continuous war leads to the disruption of the overland trade or disruption of the law and order. So that's why the production as well as the trade has gone down. So this is but obvious. Law and order instability, you can write instability. ठीक है. Next point, there were increased burden, economic burden, you can write. There was an increased economic burden on मनसबदार्स. एम को मैं मनसबदार लिख रहा हूँ, एम को सर्कल करूंगा तो दैट इज मनसबदार. ठीक है, आप भी शॉर्टकट यूज करके नोट्स लिख सकते हैं. सो मनसबदार हु रिक्वायर्ड who were required to maintain army as per Sawar. Maintain army as per Sawar for emperor. Therefore, this war contributed to economic decline of Mughal. This war contributed to economic decline of Mughals. Okay. The next point, Aurangzeb 5807 wanted to capture whole of Deccan and annexed Bijapur in 1685 and Golconda in 1687. And these two are, आप ब्रैकेट में लिख सकते हैं कि बीजापुर एंड गोलकोंडा वर ऑटोनोमस मुस्लिम किंगडम. दे वर ऑटोनोमस मुस्लिम किंगडम्स. ठीक है. बट द औरंगजेब failed, but he failed to defeat Marathas convincingly. Marathas convincingly. And by 1705, Marathas began winning. Marathas began winning, and after the reign of Aurangzeb, that is 1707, they revived. They reversed most territorial gain. Most of the territorial gain of Aurangzeb AZ 5807. ठीक है. by the first half of 18th century. That's why I was told you that whatever Aurangzeb 40-year warfare has no went wasteful, because anyway after 50 year, within the 50 year, the condition has been reversed. And also the Aurangzeb policies and the warfare militarily weakened. So ये तो नेगेटिव है, दोनों तरफ से घाटा हो गया मुगल्स को. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट point you can write, therefore in the end, this point you can write, in the end these were proved futile and wasteful. And who was the reason? You can write bracket में लिख सकते हैं, who was the reason behind making this war uh, unworth or worthless? The reason were Marathas, because that time Marathas was the greatest power. ठीक है, this is first we have written, this is about the Aurangzeb. Continuous warfare, how the war has been started, what was the proceeding of the war, how much territorial expansion happened, and what are the repercussions of the war, and what was the final conclusion related to the war. This is the war is worthless. Second, we can see that I have told you the divisive policies of religious divisive policies. तो इसका नोट्स नहीं लिखूंगा, बस स्लोली थोड़ा सा मैं कुछ बता देता हूँ, थोड़ा सा लिखवा देता हूँ. रिलीजियस डिवाइसिव पॉलिसीज ऑफ औरंगजेब 5807. ठीक है, सो इसका लिखवा ही देता हूँ, आप लिख लीजिए कि आपको एक साथ पूरा नोट्स हो जाएगा आपका. They alienated the masses. How they alienated the masses? By different means. Number A, application of jizya on non-Muslim. This is first. So which is jizya is what? It's an additional tax. Second, not repairing temples. And reducing allocation of lands for the temples. So someone say why land was allocated previously? Because even the Mughal ruler, the people who are under them, they are their responsibility. उन्हें उनके लिए कुछ करना होता है, whatever their religious sentiments. So that's why initially some land was allocated, but now it was decreased in the era of Aurangzeb, because Aurangzeb was hardcore Muslim. That's why. Third, what happened? He also demolished some important Hindu temples. Hindu temples. So whatever I am writing here, you can write exactly in the examination. But sometimes I use some for the explanation purpose. I use some words that you need to be little cautious about. Okay. But whatever I am writing, that is fine to write in the answer of mains. Okay. And next, D, you know that next point, execution of ninth Guru Tegh Bahadur of Sikh and Sambhaji, elder son of Chhatrapati Shivaji. Elder son of Shivaji. ठीक है, for not acceptance to convert to Islam. So इसमें एक specific point लिख सकते हैं with respect to Sambhaji. He was executed after 3 weeks of intense torture. You can write 3 weeks of torture, it is okay, but the torture was so intense. Okay, so this was the reason. This was the religious devices policy of Aurangzeb. ठीक है, next is institutional failure. I have told you initially, I have एक मैंने point लिखाया था, बहुत ऊपर है. Institutional failure से related one point I have written. You can see this institutional failure. This is also in the political reason, in the decline of Mughal. So institution is nothing but the Mughal court. How, just like in India, democratic country, how the cabinet is working. Now in the cabinet, same resemble कीजिए, cabinet में अगर factionalism start हो जाए, तो slowly the cabinet will start getting break, एंड उसमें फिर मेजोरिटी भी चला जाएगा गवर्नमेंट का. द सेम केस हैपनिंग, बट दैट टाइम वाज नॉट अ डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट, दैट वाज द मिलिट्री. मुगल वाज अ मिलिट्री स्टेट. So you can consider that if the factionalism happening in the Mughal court, that will lead to many things which I have already explained through the via the graph, via the diagram. But now it's about the notes, so I'm dictating the notes. So third is institutional failure. So institutional failure is also considered to be a governance failure. Okay, so some points you can write. Post AZ 5807, post Aurangzeb, there were weak Mughal emperor who failed to maintain. ये पॉइंट आप अंडरलाइन कर लीजिए, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है. दे फेल टू मेंटेन बैलेंस ऑफ पावर. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, because when you are the leader means you know how to maintain the balance of power, because you have 10 people who are of the same caliber. How you allocate a good cabinet, how you allocate the good responsibility to which of one in such a way that the other will not get offended. So this is the leader quality. So that was not there after any Mughal emperor after Aurangzeb. So that's why they were failed to maintain the balance of power. Okay, in Mughal court. ब्रैकेट में आप कैबिनेट लिख सकते हैं हिंट के लिए, कि यू कैन, जब आप नेक्स्ट टाइम नोट्स पढ़े यू विल इजीली गेट इट कि व्हाट द बैलेंस ऑफ पावर मीन्स. सो द स्टेटमेंट इज पोस्ट देयर वर वीक मुगल एम्पेयर हु फेल्स टू मेंटेन बैलेंस ऑफ पावर इन मुगल कोर्ट among mansabdars, because mansabdars were only the contender of the mansab or jagir among mansabdars. Okay, and next point, अगर रूलर वाज वीक तो क्या होता है, वी ऑल नो. इफ किंग वाज unable to satisfy mansabdar with desire jagir and mansabs, then disloyalty among mansabdar started. This loyalty among mansabdar took root, because you know that in the Mughal cabinet or in the Mughal court, the relationship is a give and take relationship. I have told you in the lecture number 2, it was the give and take relationship. The king provided the mansab and jagir to the mansabdar, and mansabdar in return provided loyalty, as well as mansabdar provided the military or a army for the king as per their sawar. It is clear. So now this relationship get distorted, because now some mansabdar is get offended because they have not given the mansab what they wanted. They have not given as much of jagir what they wanted. That's why the disloyalty has started increasing, and this is the reason why grouping happens. अगर आपको whatever you want, if you will not get, you try to get it by any means. So you try to make a group so that you just want to dethrone the present king by collaborating with the other king contender, so that when they will become the king, you will get the desired mansab and jagir. So this was the scenario. Next, these two things you have understood. Institutional failure you have seen. Now the third point is a military failure. How military get failed? You already know, but just for the notes purposes, I'm writing. So first of all, you know that the Mughal state is a military state. Is a military state. No ब्रैकेट में लिख सकते हैं, इट इज़ अ नॉट अ नेशन स्टेट. नेशन स्टेट, ठीक है. मैंने 3 का मतलब बताया था नेक्स्ट प्रीवियस लेक्चर में आपको. व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन नेशन एंड कंट्री एंड स्टेट. सो नेशन इज द पीपल हु फील्स वन, मैं लिख भी दे रहा हूँ आपको, फिर आप यहाँ भी आपका आप नोट कर लीजिएगा, पीपल हु फील्स वन, एंड कंट्री इज नथिंग बट अ टेरिटरी, ठीक है। एंड स्टेट इज व्हाट, स्टेट इज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, प्राइवेट एंड पब्लिक डिपेंड्स, that manages or in the government term you can write that governs affairs of nation or country, nation or country. So how the organization, how the state manages the affair of nation, nation means people, so they take care of the welfare of the people, and how he manages the country, they take care of the country sovereignty, they take care of security of the territory. So this thing, the state, the organization manages the nation as well as the country. It is clear. And one more point, if the state, I have told you state can be, state is the organization, this can be private and public also, and in public also the selection of this state can be differ. Like in military state, the organization is selected by the military power. If you have a good military power, you can defeat some other country, some other nation, and you will rule over it. This is a military. But in the India is a democratic country. The organization, the state is chosen by people directly. That's why this is chooses by the people. This is chooses by the nation people. ठीक है? So you can write like nation or organization created by people nation, created by people, or you can call as nation, because nation is nothing but a people having sharing the same ideology. So created by nation is nation state, is nation state. Example में India is a nation state, because when you read the Constitution of India preamble, उसमें लिखा हुआ एक term which is we people of India. preamble का last paragraph देखिएगा, it has written we people of India gives ourselves this constitution. This constitution, ठीक है. So now you understand about the military state and the nation state. Okay, how nation state is created and how military state is created. Next point you can write in the military weakness is poor military because of lack of technological and organizational reforms. Because you know that just trace back in history, so whenever you are learning in history anything na, so try to connect with the previous incidents. Just like I wrote the line poor military because of the lack of technological and organizational reform. So where I have told you this thing, you have remember that why the first battle of Panipat won by Babur. This was the reason because of the technological superiority, technological advancement. The gunpowder and the field artillery is used by the Babur. That's why even if the last Ibrahim Lodi or Lodi dynasty army was big, still the Mughal or the Babur able to won the fight, won the war because of this technological advancement. But now military started getting weakening it because of the lack of technological and organizational reform. Why the Japan, why the US, why the Russia is the militarily very powerful? Because of their R&D, research and development. They've invested more and more in that thing. They were so advanced with compared to the India. So that's why this is very important to constantly advance your mechanism, advance your advancement and reform. This is two things you will require in every aspect if you want to sustain. This is simple thing. In UPSC also, if you have prepared last year, but this year if you have not added, you have not advanced anything. Your knowledge is static knowledge is not that much important, because UPSC actually asking more than 70-80% dynamically, so that's why the previous year preparation just gone. That's why the advancement is always important. Now come to the next point under military weakness. The next point is that after Aurangzeb there were weak war commanders. Weak war commanders. Next point is a military corruption. How military corruption happened, I have already explained in more detail. So military corruption. So you can write like non-maintenance of army, non-maintenance of army as per Sawar due to disaffection, मतलब disloyalty. आपको जो जागीर चाहिए था वो नहीं मिला. That's why you are not maintaining the army as per Sawar. And Jagirdari crisis. You are getting the jagirs periodically, so you try to maximize it, and you are not going to maintain the army as per Sawar, and for that money you can use for the private purposes. So this is what. So this notes is enough with respect to the military weaknesses. Next point. Next we will make some notes on the factionalism. Okay. Factionalism, you know, it's a group politics. It's a grouping. Factionalism. This is also called as a group politics. Okay. Now you can write some points. Post Aurangzeb 5807, they were continuous. There were continuous succession dispute. Succession dispute and factionalism increases, and hence factionalism increases. Okay. This lead to competition between different groups of Mansardar. Next point लिख लीजिए. This leads to competition between different groups of Mansabdar. I have already told you कि how many groups are there. So example में I have told you Irani, Turani, Hindustani, Deccani Hindu. These are the group. These were the groups of the Mansabdars. Okay. Next point you can write, because these groups, why they were started competing, because this group wanted their favorite to be their favorite to be the next emperor, to be the next emperor, or wanted influence over existing emperor. Existing emperor. So two things can possible. This Mansabdar is grouping so that they want new emperor to be take to the take place of the previous emperor, so that they will give the desired Jagir. And second thing, they just group with the current emperor only, so that whatever the Jagir they want, they will get from the current emperor only. Because the main motive of the Mansabdar is take the Jagirs and the Mansab as per their desire. Either they will take given by the current emperor or the other emperor. So whoever they will favor. That is the thing. Okay. So they over the existing emperor, so that they could extract better Mansab and Jagirs. This is very clear. Okay. And one most point that which leads to जिसे कंट्रोल करना था, the king can control this factionalism, but now kings also involve this in factionalism due to the weak personality. So वो point भी लिख लेते हैं. The contender of the king, the contenders to the throne also wanted the support of Mansabdar which contributed to factionalism in Mughal court. So that's why in that chart, in that diagram, I have written the uncontrolled factionalism, because now both have been involved in the factionalism. Okay, so now we can write something about the Mansabdar groups. So you, that must be there in your notes, because maybe you will forget. So first is Irani group. So Irani group are the Shias group, Shias, and they had Persian origin. Persian origin. So I have told you the story about this लिखवा भी देता हूँ. For example, you can write Humayun 3040, that means 1530 to 1540, took help of Persian to recapturing power in 1555 from Suri dynasty leader. ठीक है, और दिस इज द रीजन वाई, इसके वजह से ही देयर प्रेजेंस इन मुगल कोर्ट एज मनसबदार. एज मनसबदार. ठीक है, ये क्लियर है. फर्स्ट ग्रुप इज तुरानी ग्रुप. नेक्स्ट सेकंड ग्रुप ऑफ मनसबदार आर, sorry, first group is Irani group, second is a Turani group. This group are Sunnis group, and they were of the same origin as that of Mughal, same origin as Mughals. Technically they had a very high command over it because of the origin, and that time you know that the position of the Mansabdar was filled by the family background or the hereditary way. Okay. Third is the Hindustani group. So Hindustani group were nothing but a converted Indian Muslims. Next, fourth is a Deccani group. Deccani group are the nobles of Golconda and Bijapur. That was annexed by Aurangzeb. Nobles of Golconda जी and Bijapur. मैं पूरा नहीं लिख रहा हूँ, आप पूरा लिखेगा. Golconda and Bijapur, who were made Mansabdar by Aurangzeb 5807 after defeating the Golconda and Bijapur, after defeating their respective territory. Defeating Golconda in 1687 and Bijapur in 1685. ठीक है, ये क्लियर है. 4 हो गया. एंड फिफ्थ टाइप ऑफ मनसबदार आर हिंदूज. सो इन इसमें मेनली देवर राजपूत्स. क्लियर है. सो दिस 5 ग्रुप और मनसबदार वर प्रेजेंट इन द मुगल कोर्ट. सो फैक्शनलिज्म वाज between them only. Okay, so one more point I have told you that if this Mansabdar was wanted, if this Mansabdar was not acted selfishly, they were capable of strengthening the center even if the weak emperor. But now they started focusing on their respective states or respective states like Awadh, Bengal and Hyderabad to be a successor state. So this also contributed to the factionalism, or this also not contributed, but you can say that this also not made a shield to the Mughal empire or weakening. This also not acted as a shield to the weakness of the Mughal empire. ठीक है, ये बचा सकते थे इन लोग, but they acted selfishly. So we can write a 1 point. The able Mansabdar acted selfishly, and instead of strengthening central authority, they focused on carving out their own, carving out their own principality. So the एक reason also और एक reason और था, because in the mind of these Mansabdars, they were seeing that the central authority start getting weakening, and after the central authority got weakened, so the next power will be delivered to the successor state. So rather than focusing on the central authority, they want that ki whichever successor state these Mansabdars belongs to, they wanted their successor, their state to be the next successor state, so that get they got more power in that successor state. They made the governor of it. So that was the reason. Okay. So this was the complete notes with respect to the factionalism. Now we have seen some Jagirdari crisis. What happened? How it leads to the Jagirdari crisis, I have told, but let let us make some notes over it so that you can write in mains. So I am making you write everything for the perspective of mains also. So you can write as it is in mains. So Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. So conceptual clarity I have already provided, but notes is also important, because without notes people usually forget the concepts. But this is the way of teaching, that first I will provide you the concept so that this is in your mind and you can correlate the notes whatever I am writing. And second thing, at the 4 month 5 month after, you might have forgotten the concept, but when you revisit the notes you will get the concept. Yes, this was the thing. Okay. So in the Jagirdari crisis, the first point is AZ 5807 annex Golconda in 1687 and Bijapur in 1685, and the nobles of these kingdoms, and I must make sure the notes which I am providing, it is most authentic notes. So I have cross checked 2 or 3 times with respect to the dates and all the incidents, so you can trust these notes also. So the nobles of their kingdoms were co-opted as mansabdars, and this came to be known as Decani group. So ठीक है, and this came to be known as Decani group. I simply write in bracket. So these are the Decani groups. Next, however, AZ 5807 converted most lands in this kingdom, that means Bijapur and Golconda kingdom, to Khalisa lands, as wanted to fund his future warfare against Marathas. Because you know that the Aurangzeb wanted to capture whole of Deccan. So in order to capturing whole of Deccan, he captured the Bijapur and Golconda. But still Maratha was present strongly in the Deccan. So if they wanted to go in fight or go in war with the Marathas, they wanted the economic resources. That's why they kept all the territory that has been captured from Bijapur and Golconda as a Khalisa land, so that the land revenue directly went to the king, and that land revenue will be used as a for the next for the next war between the against the Marathas. Okay. And second thing, what happened, the consequences with this, because you one hand you have not increased the Jagir, not increase the total Jagirs or the total lands. Other hand, you have appointed the nobles of Bijapur and Golconda as an mansab. So this is the dual sword happened, which cut the which acted as a what we call, which acted as disadvantage to the Mughals also only. So therefore, number of Mansabdar increased in one hand, while land under Jagirdar did not. So inequality आ गया यहाँ. While land under Jagirdar did not. So that's why Jagirdari crisis. So we are writing under the Jagirdari crisis only. Next point you can write, Emperor post Aurangzeb, AZ 5807, appointed more and more mansabs. Appointed more and more mansabdars for political reason. I have told you that due to the factionalism, the kings always wanted that their supported people. They promises that if you will support, I will give more mansab and more jagir. For the political reason to stay in power, these kings started giving more and more mansabs. So in that way also the mansab started getting increased and the jagir are still stagnated. And or other way you can say that the Jagir is still from the smaller peasant, from the smaller Jagirdar, this is started transferring to the bigger one. So this is other reason of inequality of the Jagir. Okay? So Mansa for political reasons. So what was the political reason? That is to win support of different groups of Mansabdar, either to come in power, either in come to power or to stay in power. Okay? The same thing I have explained, stay in power. So wherever I found that something which I am writing was not explained, I am explaining while dictating or while giving notes to you. And wherever in which section you have any doubt or any problem, you are free to comment in this video. I will explain it later. Okay? On the next video, I will just jot it down and I will start the lecture by explaining those doubts and will start the next lecture. This is clear. So this is considered to be a complete full modern history course something, because I will complete modern history. I will not left in one or two lecture only. That's why I will do chronologically order so that you will not miss anything. Okay? So the power to stay in power. Clear hai? Therefore, this leads further increasing number of Mansardar. Further increasing number of Mansabdars. ठीक है? Next point, inequality you have no. अब inequality heading दे के लिख सकते हैं. Same thing, it is under the Jagirdari crisis that 5% Mansabdars controlled 61% of Jagirdari land. ठीक है? So what this inequality created? It created insecurity among smaller mansabdars. And now smaller mansabdar started military corruption and it started promoting or it started adopting the इजारादारी system. That all I have explained. साथ में recall करते जाइए जो map मैंने बताया था. Okay. Next point. In 18th century, there was inflation in luxurious good. That also I have explained. Goods due to high exports to Europe by European trading company. European trading company. So that time, okay, so this lead to the inflation also. सो दो चीज़ स्मॉलर मनसब के लिए ख़राब हो गया. फर्स्ट तो उनको लैंड पीरियोडिकली मिल रहा, फ्रिक्वेंटली ट्रांसफर हो रहा, एंड सेकंड थिंग इज दैट इन्फ्लेशन ऑन राइज, सो दैट दे आर नॉट एबल टू बाई द लग्जरियस आइटम. ठीक है. सेकंड थिंग, उस समय एक स्टेप हुआ था फ्रॉम दी वजीर निज़ामुल हक असफजा. ओके. Which is also named as the Chinkulis Khan. So as wazir, जो कि as wazir from 1722, इसके डिटेल में आगे पढ़ेंगे, बस थोड़ा सा पॉइंट लिख लीजिए. सो ही वॉज अ वजीर फ्रॉम 1722 टू 24. निज़ामुल हक निज़ाम ट्राइड, only I have written the small initials. Nizam tried but failed to convince elite Mansabdar, the bigger Mansabdars, who were holding most of the land, for redistribution of Jagir. So it was the one attempt redistribution of Jagirs. So the Nizam was tried and requested to the elite Mansabdar to redistribution, so that the smaller Mansabdar get some Jagir, and that anyway they tried to solve the Jagirdari crisis, but he got failed in that. बिकॉज जिसके पास ज़्यादा रहता है दे एक्चुअली नॉट वांट टू गिव दैट इन वट एवर द रीज़न. आज का भी वही केस है. लॉट ऑफ इनइक्वालिटी वॉज देयर एट दैट टाइम और टुडे ऑल्सो. नाउ स्मॉलर, what was the consequences? Now smaller mansabdar found it hard to maintain lifestyle, because mansabdar was supposed to be a very prestigious people in the society. So that's why they need to maintain that lifestyle. Otherwise, it's a shameful situation for them. That's why, inflation also causes the lifestyle degradation. So it was hard to maintain the lifestyle, adding to insecurity. ठीक है. बस डे टू डे लाइफ में जैसा समझते हिस्ट्री वैसे समझते जाइए. हिस्ट्री इज नॉट दैट टफ. नाउ वी कैन सी दैट this is a complete note with respect to the Jagirdari crisis. Next, the last notes that I am giving today is the impact of Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. ठीक है. What was the impact? And after that we will wind up this session. Impact of Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. ठीक है. The first point, Jagirdari crisis, I have explained, means less number of Jagirs available, more number Mansabdar. In layman term you can understand like this, and the reason you know that by this time many Mansabdar stayed Jagir less for years, क्योंकि जागीर था ही नहीं तो कहाँ से मिलेगा. 4 years. ठीक है. सेकेंड, इनसिक्योरिटी अमंग mansabdars due to frequent transfer of land, frequent transfer to Jagirs to other mansabdars. These are the small mansabdar. जो ट्रांसफर होता था, whatever the frequent transferring, this is with respect to the small mansabdar. Bigger one has their own stake, and also they have got more because of the king or the potential king has promised the more mansab to get the support and to get the big to stay in power or to be in the power. Okay, so the frequent transfer to the jagirs to the other mansab, that is insecurity of tenure of holding jagir. Insecurity of tenure of holding जागीर्स. ठीक है. थर्ड पॉइंट लिखते हैं. Therefore now there was increased operation. There was increased operation of Ryots, that is peasants, who are the actual cultivators, and primary Zamindars, who used to collect the land. So the question comes, how primary Zamindar came in picture. So primary Zamindar was the hereditary right to collect the revenue, but now the Jagirdars started adopting the Izaradari system. So now the role has been given to the Izaradars or the money lenders. So now the primary Zamindars, the money that the primary Zamindars got also reduces, so they are also oppressed. Okay. So therefore now there was a increased operation of Ryots peasant and primary Jamindars as wanted to extract. Okay. So operation, because as Mansabdar wanted to extract more revenue, or as much as land revenue as possible from Jagir. From Jagir. Now there was greater spread of, this is the reason wow. Now there was greater spread of Izaradari system. As Mansabdar, Jagirdar tried to maximizing their earning. Tried to maximize their earning. So ये काफी क्लियर है आपको, देयर अर्निंग. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, थर्ड पॉइंट हो गया. नेक्स्ट 4 पॉइंट क्या लिख सकते हैं हम लोग. फोर्थ पॉइंट इनसिक्योरिटी वाला पॉइंट एक लिख लेते हैं. ड्यू टू इनसिक्योरिटी ऑफ टेन्योर, no incentives for Jagirdar Mansabdar investing in productivity of Jagir, therefore further hurting income of Ryots. Further hurting income of Ryots. So ये point एक बार explain कर देता हूँ what it is. So generally when there is a insecurity of tenure, so what happen? These small Jagirdars, Mansabdars know that कि at any time this land, this Jagir will be transferred to the other people. If I will invest in the productivity of this Jagir, and by that time of output, if it will be transferred to the other Jagir, then the output will be given to the person who had that Jagir at that point of time. That's why this transferring system, frequent transferring, de-incentivize the Jagirdar Mansabdar to invest more and more into the Jagir, and this ultimately hurting whom? This hurting the income of the Ryots. Now Ryots income has gone down because now they are not getting any investment from their side, and they have not sufficient amount of money to cultivate or to produce more and more efficient crops. So this is the reason ultimately this again burden come to the Mansabdar. So one thing you have always analyze thing कि कुछ भी होता है, even if the top system anything happen, any wrong happens, so the one person who is always vulnerable is who is the bottom of that chain. So here it's a Ryots. Even the Mansabdar also got impacted. Jagirdar also got impacted. But the more impact is on the lower hand people. Okay. So fourth point हो गया. Next come to the fifth point. Now this all suppression to the suppression of the peasants as well as the primary Jamindar. Now what it leads? It leads to the revolt. So this is a peasant revolts in 18th century. 18th century were therefore product of therefore product of JC for Jagirdari crisis, and they were led by Zamindar, who were traditional leaders of rural society. Because initially I have told you that these peasants were directly in connection with the primary जमींदार्स. So अगर कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम होता था, कि अगर peasant के लेवल पे प्रॉब्लम है, so the person whom they can connect is the primary जमींदार. And now in this situation, in this scenario, in this conflict or in this insecurity, the two person who was highly impacted are the peasant and the zamindars. Peasant, because of their land revenue, they have to give more land revenue, as well as investment from Jagirdar cut down, and the Jamindar because of the Izaradari system. So both were suppressed. That's why the peasant revolt was supported by these primary Jamindars, because their right also got curtailed. Okay, and because of this revolts only, the Jat Kingdom were set up. Jat Kingdom set up by Churaman Jat, who was the Jamindar. A Jamindar, who was the Jamindar. So the Jat Kingdom was a product of peasant revolt. Therefore, Jagirdari crisis hurt political stability. Therefore, JC for Jagirdari crisis hurts पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी. इट इज़ क्लियर है, क्योंकि एक किंगडम होने के साथ साथ इफ द पीपुल कोलैबोरेटली क्रिएटेड द अदर किंगडम इनसाइड इट, इट मीन्स द पॉलिटिकल इंस्टेबिलिटी. इट हर्टेड द पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी. ठीक है. सो दिस इज द वीकनिंग ऑफ द पॉलिटिकल वीकनिंग ऑफ द मुगल. ठीक है, कनेक्ट करते जाइए हर पॉइंट को. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, 6 पॉइंट, जेसी फॉर जागीरदारी क्राइसिस leads to military corruption. I have told you how it leads to military corruption. Jagirdars who got the land try to maximize their profit till the time they had the land. So the corruption by mansabdars. So I use the word Jagirdar and Mansabdar interchangeably, because here I'm talking about only Mansabdars, Jagirdar Mansabdars only. So Watan Jagirdar I'm not talking about. So here the Mansabdars or Jagirdar, therefore contributing to military weakness. So hence this will contribute to military weakness. So two things you see. The point number 5, give to the political stability got hurt. Matlab politically weakening of the Mughal state. Next point, military weakness of the Mughal state. Slowly you can see that on a different dimension, Mughals started declining. Okay. Next point number 7, group politics increases. Group politics, that is factionalism, increased as Mansabdars competed for Jagir even more. Even more. ठीक है. एंड लास्ट पॉइंट लिख लीजिए इसमें आप, इम्पैक्ट ऑफ जागीरदार क्राइसिस की मुगल स्टेट was a military state, and if military weakens, and if weaken, then state weaken. Weakens. It is clear. So that's why the military weakness slowly leads to the state weakens, and this is the declination of Mughal has started. ठीक है, ये clear है. So in this lecture I have covered many points. Initially let me have told you what are the points that I have covered in this lecture. So this lecture started with the role of Aurangzeb, AZ 5807. I have told you continuous warfare, religious divisive policies of Aurangzeb, institutional failure. Then I have given many chronological order of the points of decline of Mughals. So that include the political, economic, people decline. Then I have talked about the military weakness, factionalism, then the Jagirdari crisis, then impact of Jagirdari crisis of 18th century. So all chronologically I have explained to you this. So this is the end of this lecture, and next lecture, the topic of next lecture is that is, let me write here the topic of next lecture. So lecture number 4 will be the next lecture. So the topic is proof of decline of Mughals. ठीक है. So as of now, you know that the Mughal started declining. I have told you that the factionalism increases. The Mansabdars started grouping with the kings to make the king more strong, or to make the other king. So, but when it must be linked with the fact कि जब आप देखेंगे जब when you see the scenario that कि how frequently the leader were changed after the Aurangzeb. I have given you the Mughal emperor map after Aurangzeb. Bahandar Shah 0712, that means 1707 to 1712. Then Jahandar Shah 1213, 1712 to 13. Then Farooq Siyar 1319, 1713 to 1719. Then Muhammad Shah 1948, 1790 to 1748. You have seen within the time frame of 40 years, 4 or 5 Mughal emperor has changed. So this is the fact that you can add with the with whatever the subjective things that I have given in this lecture. That's why I have written this topic, proof of decline of Mughal. That means I will give the fact regarding whatever I have teach in this lecture. So okay, so today बस यहीं तक आज रखते हैं, and next lecture we will start with this. And those people who are new to my channel are requested to join or requested to subscribe my channel and like my video, and also if you can share to the other people, other aspirants, so that they will get help from it, and I'm sure this video will help in your greater preparation. So bye for today, and we'll meet in the next lecture. Thank you.